Hello everyone, it's Karen Burniston. Happy October. So I am here to just introduce some new stamp sets that we have, and I feel like some of you probably have already figured that out a little bit because we use some of those new stamps in our October and our November class cards, and we've already shown those out, but we weren't talking about the stamps. So just to kind of give a little history of our stamp sets. So we started doing these little clear stamp sets, little 3x4 stamp sets, greetings, to kind of go along with our pop-up dies. And we started that in June of 2024. So when we come out with a die release now, we'll come out with 3 to 4 to 5, stamp sets, just some little stamp phrases that will go nicely with those dies. And the idea being that you can't do everything that you want to do in a word set, right? So we have lots of really awesome word sets. But, you're somewhat limited in what you can do, obviously, in a die. You've got to be able to get the paper out of the die, and you've got to think about the price of it and things like that. So what we started doing with these little clear stamp sets is, especially for our more specific pop-up dies, it's nice to be able to have some greetings that will go nicely with those. So, it's a great day to be a pirate. Yo-ho-ho goes really great with our pop-up pirate ship. Now, do you have to have the stamp set to use the pirate ship? Absolutely not. It's just kind of like an idea to give you some ideas for how to use, especially some of the more specific pop-ups. So, let the music play, turn up the volume, and you can see here mixing in like the stamps with the die cut words. So we still do die cut words as well. But now we offer stamps, little greeting stamps as well. So, sending a smile, wishing you sunshine and rainbows. So just little 3x4 stamp sets. They have been very popular. People seem to really like having this option to have some greetings to go with those pop-up dies. But like I said, we started this with our 271st die. So that means we have 270 dies that came out before that really, we weren't doing stamps back then. And so what I thought we would do in October is we would just do 5 little stamp sets to kind of tide you over to our November release. In November, we're going to have some new dies and new stamps. But these October ones are really meant to reference all of those great dies that we already have in the collection, the ones that have come before that you may already own, or maybe when you see some of these new stamp sets and I, show you some ways that they would go with some of our existing dies, maybe that's something that you think, oh, I missed that one, I want that die as well. So let's talk about those new stamp sets. So we have 5 of them. So there is a Halloween one. So that is going to be great for all of your Halloween cards. And again, with all of these stamp sets, you might just like the greetings. You might say, hey, I just like those greetings. I'm going to use them on my scrapbook layouts or my cards, whether or not they're a pop-up. So you can see here on one of our October class cards that I've used a lot of those Halloween stamps. So Happy Halloween here, October 31st. What's brew with you? So that's a really good example of having a stamp on the set that really references nicely with one of our dies. In this case, our little witch and cauldron. You can see on the back here the trick or treat. So that's going to be one of the cards that we make in our October class. And then the other one is going to be this one. This one also using that same stamp set, Sweets for My Creeps, Let's Fang Out. So again, just referencing some of those really great Halloween dies that we already have, but having some new words and things to go with them. That's really what the brand is about. The brand is always about building a collection, and everything is always backwards compatible. And we just we lean into that. We lean into the idea that you are building a collection, and as you go, there's going to be new die sets. There's going to maybe be a new stamp set or something that's going to enhance that die really nicely for you. So they don't feel old. They don't feel, everything's timeless. You can use it all the time. In November, we're going to use the new Christmas stamp set. So this one's called Christmas Wishes. We have another Christmas clear stamp set, but what I really wanted to do with this one, you can never have too many Christmas greetings, is I really did want to be able to reference some of those dies, especially things like our sleigh. Our sleigh is our 21st die. So, you gonna focus for me there? I'm having a little bit of issues with the focus on this camera. I'm not exactly sure why. Okay, now it's focused. All right, stay focused. So this is going to be one of the cards for November, and we are going to use that sleigh pop-up. And then now we've got a little, greeting that says, may your heart sing as sleigh bells ring. So, just being able to reference some of those really great Halloween or holiday dies that we already have. Then for our second card, Hope Your Christmas Sparkles. And then we're gonna be using our charm accordion and our holiday charms and stuff on this card in a little bit of a different way. But this one, wishing you twinkly lights and cozy nights. And to go along with that stamp, we're also going to be using a Pear Blossom Press twinkle light on that card. So you can see when you push the button, little twinkle lights in the wreath light up there. So that's going to be our card 2 for November. So 2 of those stamp sets used on those cards, and actually a third too, but I'm going to get to that one last. All right, then let's talk about, we've got a new little autumn set. So this one's not necessarily Thanksgiving. You can certainly use it for a Happy Thanksgiving card, but it really is more just like general fall and autumn. So, you know, let's give them pumpkin to talk about, or hey, gorgeous. So just pretty. I have a card here by Lois that she sent me. Falling leaves and lattes, please. And she's used our little coffee charms there. And then inside, love this. So our Arch pop-up Autumn Elements, one of my very favorite dies. Just a little element set that has acorns and leaves and stuff. And then she's got one of those new, you know, stamps. May your fall be crisp, cozy, and colorful. So card by Lois there. Awesome. All right, so that is the autumn one. Then we have one coffee. I mean, come on. Everybody needs coffee stamps. We have 2 different coffee pop-ups in our collection, so this was a great chance to have some greetings to go with both of those. And just fun, you know, drink coffee and conquer the day. I've got another card that Lois sent me here. So in this case, she used our Rockin' Rectangle and made a clear front card. So she's got the mug from our tea and coffee set, or coffee and tea, can't remember which comes first. Sending a hug in a mug, and then brewed with love there. So great little, and then are the, you know, coffee borders there for that one. So another card by Lois, really, really, really cute card. All right, so that's the first 4. Oh, well, you know what? Let's look at Lois's other cards that she sent me. So she's got a Happy Halloween one here. Oh yeah, okay. I forgot that was going to happen. I have been saying from the beginning, those of you who've seen the Arch pop-up assembly video, right at the start of it, I say, before you decorate the Arch pop-up, I think it looks like a sassy monster. And I've been like trying to beg somebody to like, come on, somebody make the sassy monster. And so Lois took me up on that. And so she used the banner from the congrats, like from the graduation elements, as teeth. And she used grass, the curved edges grass here as the hair. And she made a little sassy monster for Halloween, and then she used those new stamps. Be afraid, be very afraid, let's fang out. So absolutely love it. I was so excited to get it in the mail. Thank you, Lois, for making the sassy monster. Lois is a big fan of our poinsettia die set, so she's got that here on the front of this card, Deck the Halls with Love and Laughter. This one not being a pop-up, so you don't always have to, you know, use these stamp sets or even our decorator dies as pop-ups. And then another one by Lois, Wishing You Twinkly Lights and Cozy Lights. I love what she did here. So she used our holly pattern plate, and you know, she actually made the berries dimensional, and then she, you know, added some little lights and stuff in here. And I think this, again, you know, card front on that one by Lois. All right, so let's talk about the 5th and final die or stamp set of this release, and that is our Fun Faces 1. So it's called Fun Faces 1. That's mostly aspirational. You know, I'm assuming that people are going to like this as much as I do, and so then that's going to mean that as we come out with more animals and characters, we can have Fun Faces 2. But I love the concept of this one. I've already been playing with it. I really, really like it. So let me tell you what this is. So we do a lot of, sorry, I gotta find the right thing here. We do a lot of animal and character dies, and they're small. They're little petite animals, right? So to do the faces on those animals in dies would be very difficult. They would be tiny little pieces that you would have to glue on. You're probably gonna lose the pieces. You're probably gonna lose the die. And so instead, what we do with the faces for our animals is we incorporate a stencil feature into the die. So when I'm designing the die, I just, you know, design the face as holes that are in the die, that then when you die cut it, then you just take your pen right down through that face and you add the face perfectly onto, you know, the character. And, you know, and it's just done with a pen, just done with pens. So, and that's true of all of our little animals and characters, that there's a stencil feature that adds their faces. But when the idea for doing the Fun Faces 1 really came out of our last release, where we did the Whirly Wheel. And so the Whirly Wheel, an interactive die set where, you know, you turn a wheel. I should have had one right here. Do I have one on the back wall? No. Okay, so I don't have a Whirly Wheel right here, but maybe I do. Maybe I could grab it. Well, okay. You spin a wheel. I'll float it on the screen. So you spin a wheel. And so there's a stencil feature in that die set that you can add the arrows to that wheel. But I thought it would be really cool if we had a stamp set that had the arrows perfectly for that wheel. So you could stamp first and then you just line the die right up over the top of that stamped image, because you can see down through the stencil feature and know exactly where those arrows are. That would just be a time saver. So do you have to use the stamp set? No, because you've got a stencil feature built into the die. So it's very much optional. But it's just going to make it a little faster, maybe a little crisper, you know, than doing it with the stencil feature. So that's what the fun face is. That's referencing that concept of being able to stamp first and then die cut out. And I started with the paper people because, you know, like I said, the paper people, oftentimes you're trying to make a whole bunch of people, but you've got one face, you know, because it's a stencil feature. So you can change up the paper people by the different outfits that they wear and the different hairstyles. That all comes in the set. You can certainly change up the faces by using different colors. Maybe you're going to hand draw in some eyelashes or maybe some eyebrows. But for the most part, you've got one expression on the paper people. So what the fun faces does is now it's going to give you 6. And really, I think you could probably easily use the faces that are for the princess and mermaid, and you could use those on your paper people as well. So I think you've got more choices than that. So on Fun Faces 1 is all of the stencil features for all of our character and die sets to date, with the only exception being any die that only has eyes stenciled. I didn't make a stamp for that because that's going to be hard to line up anyway, and it's so easy just to use your pen to do eyes. So when you're doing an elephant, you're not going to have a stamp for those eyes. You're just going to use the stencil feature. But on that set, you will have a set on there that you can use for the giraffe, right? So let's see. Let me find that. Safari animals. Yeah. Okay, so you do have the giraffe because the giraffe has eyes and a mouth. All right, so if it has both, then you've got a stamp for it. But, you know, this is also going to be able to add some additional little details to the faces. I mean, they're small, so, you know, I couldn't, you know, make every kind of like little detail, but just little things like eyelashes, whiskers, eyebrows, you know, I could add those here and there. So a good example of that is, you know, back to our October card. So the face of our witch here is going to be done using that stamp set. And you can see that now she has eyebrows and you didn't have to draw those on. In other words, the stamp made those eyebrows. When we get into our November card here and we get to Santa, you know, Santa's little face has been stamped there. And then you can see he has those little bushy eyebrows. That's not part of the stencil feature. That's part of the stamp set. So I did think I would just demonstrate real quick how to do this with the paper people. You know, so it's, you know, demos. They always help people understand how easy stuff is. Let me get my little set out here. Okay, so here's my paper people die set. You can see it's got a stencil feature. I can pick one of these 6 faces. I'm going to choose this one. They're small little stamps, so keep track of them. You know, after you use it, put it right back on your set. You don't want to lose them. And then the other thing I would advise is just use a ink that can do a fine line, because these are really, really tiny stamps. So I'm using VersaFine here. One of my favorites, and I'm going to do a pretty light touch on that too. I like a little light tap, tap, tap on that, and not too much pressure. But then you can see there's that face. If I can get enough. There we go. Isn't that cute? So now you've got eyebrows and you've got kind of an open mouth, so that's a little bit different than the expression that's built in. And you can enhance that. You know, like maybe I want to take my little pink pen and add some pink to the tongue, or maybe I want to take my little white pen and add a little catch light to the eyes. You know, I can do all that. Can further enhance. But then when I'm ready to die cut that out, I just have to look down through the stencil feature of the Paper People die set to make sure that that face is just lined up in the openings, right? So the eyes in the eyes, mouth in the mouth, nose in the nose. And then I like to use a little temporary tape to hold that down. Now, could you move the die so that maybe you could move the face so that it's looking more, I mean, especially when you're doing a whole crowd of people, maybe you want some people looking to the right and some people looking to the left. Absolutely. Experiment. Maybe you're going to stamp afterwards so that you can, you know, it's a clear stamp, so you could stamp afterwards and then you could put it where you want to. But if you definitely want it perfectly centered, then I would stamp first. And then, you know, whatever die cutting machine that you have and that you like. Okay. All right, so here's the Paper People person. Now don't get too alarmed if you haven't used paper people before. I'll tell you, they look a little bit like an alien when you first die cut them out, because they don't have clothes on yet, because of where the hands are. Basically there wasn't any room left for the waist, in the die design. So they're definitely meant to be to wear clothes, and the clothes come in the die set. But there's that cute. Let's see if I get that to focus. There's that cute little new. Yeah, well, here, let's just look at the one where we've put the clothes on her. Maybe if I get a piece of paper or something, it'll be easier to focus. See? Isn't that cute? So just a little different expression. Now she's got eyebrows and an open mouth on there. And you could definitely explore using some of those other faces on there. And that's true for, the animals too that have the thing, So there's the dragon. So there's a stamp set on there for the dragon right here. See, there it is. And look at how cute that face is. Like, I don't want you to think that if you don't own every single one of these die sets, that this isn't a good investment, because you can use these faces on anything. So if you just want to add a cool skeleton face to a pumpkin, or a witch's face to a pumpkin, or you just like that little dragon face. Maybe you're just trying to personify something, like maybe you're doing ice cream cones or something and you want them to have cute little faces on them. So don't think that these faces can only be used in conjunction with the dies that they fit, but that is a great way to use them, is with those dies that they fit. And you'll need your readers to read which ones they fit, but it is printed on the overlay so that you'll see. The other thing too is, like, now your cats are going to have whiskers and your bunny's going to have whiskers, and you didn't have to draw them on, So the worst is like when you, you've die cut, you've stenciled, and now you want to add some more, like, oh, I'm going to add some whiskers, or I'm going to add some eyebrows or something. And, you got a little shaky hand or something, or, it goes off or whatever, and you have to start over. So, these will be a great solution for that. Some of those details already built into the stamp set. So that is Fun Faces 1. Okay, I'm almost done, but as it turns out, I went to film this video, and I went and checked my mail, and I had a package from Sue Small-Kreider on our design team. I have a feeling that these are some cards using those new stamps. I started to open it, and I said, oh, wait, let's just do that when I'm filming the video, and we'll all just do a little, almost like an unboxing together here. And I do just have to make sure I don't cut into cards, and I also don't want to flip this over because it has addresses on it. So, okay, let's see what Sue has sent me, and we'll all look at it together. All right. We have the best design team, y'all. I mean, when you go on to look at these stamps on our website, check out all the little samples that are on them, because the team is just, they just knock my socks off. Oh my gosh, I saw this one online. This is so clever. So what Sue did here is she basically took one of our border blends sets and made like the cable knit for like a cable knit sweater for the front of her card, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. So falling leaves and lattes, please. Coffee charms down here. Love the little leaves. So those came out of probably the Tiny Trees set. It's going to be my guess. Well, it could be the tree. Actually, that could be the tree. I can't remember. We have 2 trees. And then inside she's got, oh yes, I remember. Yeah, it's like, you see, I'm unboxing it as I'm remembering, because I got to see this one online. So I really thought this was cool. So she used the cupcake pop-up. That's the pop-up that she used. And then she used the shape that comes out of the BAM box. And I just love all the little leaves around there. And then, yeah, sweater weather is better together. And this is something I've been seeing Sue doing, which I really, really like, is she takes the smaller die from the set and she just embosses it into the bigger one so that it just becomes like a little decorative piece. So it's not 2 pieces, it's just the embossed shape. She has also used our new display helpers here. So with things like this, top fold cards that, can be hard to display because they tend to fall down, you can add these little display helpers in, and you can see where it says lift. You just lift that up, and then that will just stay on, just perfect for display. It's just awesome for display. And then just push that in, and then it will close. So awesome. And make sure I have that one on hand. I got to get the video for the display helpers up. All right, so another one, May Your Heart Sing as Sleigh Bells Ring. Some beautiful pattern paper here. Oh, yes. It's so funny, y'all. I'm remembering. I don't remember when I first see it, and I'm like, oh, no, I remember seeing that. Yeah, this is really cool. So she's used the oval frames here as the pop-up. And then she used the sleigh and the Santa and the reindeer. And then she did that trick that I was talking about, where she embossed the overlay section of the sleigh down in as just a different look. So when we do the sleigh on our class card, we're going to use the overlay as a separate cut that we're going to put over the top. But what Sue did here is she used this die to emboss into that bigger one. And I just thought that was just so clever. So super, super cute. Merry Christmas here. I know we're supposed to be looking at the stamps, but I mean, the pop-ups that she did with the pop-ups is so fun too. And then she has an autumn one here using our fancy label accordion. Let's give them pumpkin to talk about. Oh, and the little mug. So she's mixed a couple of the sets here. So drink coffee and conquer the day. Hot coffee, warm heart, strong brew, strong you. Oh, she's got on both sides. Cute, with the little plaid mugs on the back. Look at how sweet would that be, just set up there, you know, on the mantle. And the rest of the team has made amazing samples too. So they don't all send them to me. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. We don't make it a requirement, but I just love it when I go to the mailbox and I get cards from the team. So 5 new little stamp sets that will kind of keep you in some fun ideas with some of your existing die sets, and then you can get ready for our new release, which will be out at the end of November. Happy October, everyone, and have a great day.